Cast iron seasoning in the oven. The sun beating down on the lawn. And I don't remember the rest of the lyrics to this song. Doody-doody-doo. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Welcome to your Mother's Day cast. And the reason why I'm doing this as a Mother's Day cast is because I know some of y'all out there forgot that it's Mother's Day. So call your moms. Call your moms. They love you. And tell them how much you love them. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this cast. Is this going to be Kelly's redemption arc? 1v1 going down. Let's introduce our players. Up in the north, we've got Kelly, who is going as the UEF, opening first land. And down in the south, we have Geralt of Rivia, who is sharpening up his silver sword because he's got to slay a monster, to be sure. Getting to work on that hydrocarbon. Looks to be going second air and then third land, fourth land is the, appears to be what Kelly is doing, or what Geralt is doing. And then on Kelly's side, we have first land, second air with some power queued up. Very similar build order to what we saw out of Kelly against the Electrician, which if you haven't seen that cast, go check out that one too. That was a pretty good game where Kelly was a little bit more the underdog, so we'll see if Kelly gets his redemption arc here against Geralt of Rivia, or if the underdog ends up pulling it out and taking it to the 1500 rated player. Certified pro on ladder. Okay, so everybody comment I don't know. I've started listening to this like morning radio show. I'm 30, and so I'm becoming, you know, a middle-aged man. I'm listening to like talk radio now. I'm listening to NPR. I'm listening to all this stuff as we got some early harass passing each other in the night. Geralt is getting some initial expansion set up. Kelly also going for some expansion on these back three mexes, these two mexes over here. But yeah, I'm turning into a middle-aged man where I'm listening to talk radio. And one of the shows that I listen to is called Brooke and Jeffrey in the morning. You can listen to it on YouTube without any of the ads or anything. Some good reclaim is here as well. Lots of reclaim on this map. But Brooke and Jeffrey in the morning, super funny. And they were walking through all of their things that are most embarrassing from they had all the hosts of the show had their mothers write in the things that they're most embarrassed about and least embarrassed about, or most proud of from their kids. And that feels like a good exercise. I think I'm going to have my mom do that whenever she comes over for dinner tomorrow. But some early harass blunted. Second lab looked like it was about to run into a tank, and then Kelly thought differently. Some bomber harass. Yep, is going to pick up that engineer. I was curious if that Scorcher kind of banked a little bit too hard. Geralt also has a bomber out, so we'll keep an eye on these. Second engineer going down for Geralt, but interceptor comes off the line just in time, and that should be the end of that bomber's little harass, as Geralt, not paying attention to his bomber, ends up landing, which was, you know, not a bad move because it protected him from the MAA. Then takes off, runs into an interceptor, is able to bag one engineer at least before getting shot down by Kelly's interceptor, hot off the press. Mech Marines, though, from Geralt into Kelly's backline, going to be able to bag themselves an engineer, little expanding engineer here. No doubt Kelly was planning on hoovering up some of this reclaim back here. Looks like, some little rocks and trees. These things add up even though they don't necessarily show up on the reclaim view. I think I had a whole video on what the reclaim counter is not telling you about maps. We went into a map that didn't show any reclaim whenever you hit Control Shift, and it turned out there was like something to the tune of like 100,000 worth of reclaim on that map. So get your reclaim out, kids. It's good for you. Makes you grow big and strong. And that that tank out from Kelly is going to put an end to the harass. It's Geralt now trying to put pressure on the northern side of the map. Gonna take out a scout. That's about it, though. Tank is going to survive, though, into the backline. Kelly wants to, you know, make sure you don't forget about these little tanks and mech marines that are running around. It can be like a freaking cockroach infestation in your house or a rat infestation. I've never had to deal with a rat infestation in a house before, but I've heard like horror stories of it. So yeah, want to make sure that you don't get rats in your house, because those sons of bitches are really rough to get out. And I guess they're not technically sons of bitches because they're rats and they're not from dogs, but you know, it's the euphemism. Geralt, I think, doing a little bit better job from an expansion perspective. Let's just go ahead and do a quick mechs count. We've got 17 mechs up for Kelly right now. Geralt of Rivia is working with 16. Never mind. I spoke completely out of turn on kind of the mechs expansion side. It just looks like Geralt has more units out than Kelly does. Getting some early bomber, well, not really early anymore. We're 6 minutes into the game, but some bomber harass as engagements happening as well up in the north, denying the hydro as well as one mechs away from Kelly. So some pretty good early skirmishes, some really good early harass from really out of both of these players. And that's mirrored in kind of the score, as these players are pretty much in lockstep from both a score perspective as well as an overall mass accumulated perspective and mass rate perspective. So should be turning out to be a really good game here, as Geralt's the first one to drop. Well, maybe drop. Is he going to drop? There we go. There's the drop. Grab these two mexes on the plateau. Oh, as well as a third one that was hiding over here on another plateau that I didn't see. And that's drivable, so you should be able to get to this one back here. But it looks like Geralt's going to drop it anyway, because that's just how Geralt goes. Yeah, quick poll for the viewers. Do y'all like The Witcher Netflix show better than... or did you think it was a good representation of the games? Because I'm kind of like torn. Like, I've played all three of the games, which I think most people have only played The Witcher 3. Unless I'm mistaken. Because The Witcher 3 just got like such big critical acclaim. But I was much more a fan of kind of the story in the games than I was in the show. I don't know though, it's been a couple years since I've seen the show. I don't think I've seen the latest season. And from what I heard, Henry Cavill got kind of booted as Geralt, and I feel like Cavill was just such a good Geralt. He's got like the voice, the hair, the build, you know, the build that every man aspires to. Down. Kelly here picking a pretty good engagement, coming in with a lot of his troops along the edge of Geralt's line, and Geralt forced to retreat here. Not sure what radar looks like for Geralt. Okay, so he has no idea how many units are actually here. So better to do the safer thing and just retreat. Let's do a quick factory count here. We've got 10 land factories up for Kelly right now. Geralt of Rivia working with 8. And Geralt trying to get out his silver sword right now and slay some monsters that are encroaching on his territory before he sees something shiny, which is a mechs, and decides to build that instead. But these guys will either run into these tanks or run into this point defense, so shouldn't be any long-term damage done here. Another offensive out from Kelly on the southern side of the map. These guys are really fighting hard over these plateaus. And there's not, I mean, there's 4 mexes here, but they're really, really spread out. Or 5 mexes, I guess, but they're really, really spread out. Love to see some comm-on-comm action, or maybe a push into one of these more condensed mechs areas. These guys seem really intent, though, on beating the brains out of each other on the wings, as Kelly tries to go for a cheeky drop here. Dropship ends up getting shot down. Gun damage in range coming in for Geralt of Rivia. Kelly working with a vanilla commander, but that vanilla commander going north to take on this little army with T1 in support. And Kelly going again for a little bit of a raid. Just a lot of little raiding, a lot of little skirmishes going on kind of in the early stages of the game. Getting to about 10 minutes though, so you'd expect to see these guys teching up, and that is exactly what we're seeing. As Geralt's going for Tech 2 on his land factory. Kelly does not appear to be going for... Nope, I take that back. Just completed Tech 2 on his HQ. Getting some engineers and then a whole bunch of pillars queued up right off the rip there. These little raids are starting to tax Geralt here a little bit. As this raid makes another pivot south, bags themselves another mechs, and that's just more stuff that Geralt has to respond to. As gun damage and range is almost up, just now completed. We'll see what the plans are with that. Maybe a really aggressive move up to the north, grab those 4 mechs, or maybe move over here to the east. We do have some civilian casualties here in Geralt's main base, but pillars will be able to mop up the remaining units. Kelly once again going for another raid on the side. Kelly I think I figured out Kelly's playstyle. Kelly likes to just be everywhere with little armies of units and just fight the enemy where they are not. Seems to be Kelly's main plan here, as Geralt now getting a little bit of value out of that gun commander, shifting this army north to deal with Kelly's army, which is leaving the center a little bit more vulnerable, as Geralt is shifting his commander to respond to this army, and Geralt is just chasing Kelly all over the place. Really having trouble setting up some static lines of defense that he can then use to attack from a from a point of strength, and seems to just be chasing Kelly around. Relegating bombers, I think, to deal with this army, is Northern Army here not even going in. And we saw this exact same tactic out of Kelly against the Electrician as well, except it was on a bigger map and a higher rated player. So we'll see if this ends up working out for Kelly on this game. It definitely seems to be paying off for him, though, at this point. This raid's going to grab AMEX, but there are pillars now getting deployed. Should be able to deal with the rest of these units as long as Geralt is paying attention and making sure that he stays on top of where these units are going. And that is going to be the last kind of thorn in Geralt's paw for the time being. Leaving him in a not too unhealthy state. He's now able to push forward, bags himself a point defense there. We now have Kelly's Tech 2 units making their way into the front lines here of battle. We'll do a quick check on eco. So mass income, very close. 6 mechs, or 6 mass per second difference between the two. From a reclaim, we'll see if Geralt is making that up in reclaim. He is not. Kelly just barely edging him out on 400 additional reclaim. KDA, though, something to keep an eye on, and it might be a little bit small there, but Kelly is sitting at about 1.6 KDA, or Geralt is sitting at about 1.6 KDA, or KD ratio, and Kelly is sitting at about 0.6. So Kelly, even though leading from an eco perspective and really all over the map, is not taking as good a trades from a kill-death perspective, and we can start to see that now as armies are amassing for Geralt of Rivia, and Kelly's getting pushed back in a couple of different key areas up in the north where his commander is, and then as well in the middle where Geralt's commander is. So here's the question. Did Kelly get himself enough of a lead off of all of that early pushing to kind of semi-propel himself into the mid-late game here, or Geralt hold on enough. And at this point, I'm not 100% sure. Is Geralt now actually taking a relatively unfavorable trade up in the north, and about to take a pretty unfavorable trade in the south as well. Ends up getting routed there. His entire northern forces end up getting destroyed. So I'm not sure if Kelly did enough infrastructure damage to close this game out early. And we can kind of see that from the mass income. You know, if you were really trying to snuff out your opponent early, you know, you'd see like a 20 to 30 mass income delta. Whereas right now, these two players really only have a delta of maybe 5 or 10. Total mass income, lockstep between the two. But Kelly now starting to take a little bit more favorable trades. KDA up to 0.7, up from 0.6 that we talked about a couple minutes ago. So things starting to stabilize a little bit. No, that's not going to help. Parking your Tech 1 over flak is not going to help your kill-death ratio. Let's check Mexa upgrades. Yeah. Alright, T2 Mexes for Geralt. We're up to 7. Kelly. So we have another engagement over here favoring Clint Eastwood. Where is one of Kelly's Tech 2 Mexes? Alright, Kelly is up to... Oh, those are mass storage, not Mexes. Kelly is up to 5. So Geralt definitely did a little bit more buckling down, upgrading some mexes. Just worried about the underpinnings of his economy, and it's actually a Tech 3 as we see the first Titans rolling off the line for Geralt. Kelly making the move to Tech 3 right now with some engineer assistance. And seems content with just going for mass pillar spam during the Tech 2 phase. Very efficient unit from an HP perspective. Loses out a little bit on the damage, but from an HP perspective, I believe the most efficient Tech 2 unit, just as far as mass invested per hit point that you get out of that. So pretty common, and they're also not super expensive. They're a really good way of just getting a lot of units onto the field quickly that can take a good pounding. As the first Titan comes out onto the field and just gets absolutely annihilated by these pillars. That can't feel good if you're, you know, the pilot of a brand new... And I know that these units are all running, like, on AI and the commander's autonomous, you know, whatever. But that can't feel good if you're, like, a pilot in a brand new mech and you just... are ordered to go run headfirst into a bajillion tanks like this guy is. Except this guy's a Percival. To be able to take a lot more pounding. And it does have a point defense there in support. That can't feel good to just get sent to your death in a brand new machine. Once again, Geralt pushing back. Kelly trying to make these raids happen. And struggling as the game moves on and Geralt becomes more and more established, struggling to find any sort of undefended area that he can latch onto and really cause pain for Geralt. One bright side, though, for Kelly, it does seem to be pulling away a little bit on the mass side, and there is now a decent delta between these two players from a mass income perspective at about 25 mass income per second difference with Kelly leading and Geralt following, which is uncharacteristic of Geralt, you know? Here's another question for, you know, the chat and the comments section. You guys team Yennefer or team Triss? I guess that's the version for all of us gamer nerds of... team, what was it in Twilight? The vampire dude versus the werewolf dude. what was it, Team Jacob versus Team Edward, I believe. I dated a girl in high school that was obsessed with Twilight. She drugged me to a couple of those movies. And she drugged me there, ironically, by drugging me. I'm kidding, she didn't actually drug me. But yeah, Team Yennefer or Team Triss? I think in the third game I went all in on Yen whenever I played it, but I did kind of fool around a little bit with Triss while I was going through, but ultimately did commit to Yennefer. My wife actually went through played through the game and got serious with both of them. And I won't spoil that ending, but it's a very funny ending if y'all have not gotten that ending. It's quite entertaining. Yeah, I retired with Yen in like a hot springs something or other after I finished stopping the wild hunt. It's been several years since I played the game. I'm trying to remember who the like ultimate bad guy was. Haven't seen a ton of airplay out of either of these players yet. You know, based purely on count, Kelly seems to be leading here. Except his interceptors are not really being microed, and they're parked over... Well, I thought they were parked over AA. And I kind of want to stay decently zoomed out just because there's a ton of stuff going on. Like, Kelly's attacking here. Geralt is trying to respond. He's clicking his units in here, going to their deaths. Then there's, you know, some weird, like, halfway air engagement in the middle where some of Kelly's units want to fight, others don't. Geralt seems to be content with mopping up the stragglers. It's kind of a weird air engagement there. I have not seen a ton of Tech 3, though, out of Kelly yet. We do have some Percivals that are on the field, but have not made their way into battle yet. Whoops. Bad camera work. Poor caster. Noob, please report. Geralt, though, getting a lot of value out of these Percivals. Taking out several units as Kelly utilizing the gun on his commander. 32 kills on that commander. Now, considering the comms have not really played a super important part of this match, except for, you know, Geralt just kind of happening to have his commander in the right spot in the right time. Seems to be got a good amount of kills happening on Geralt's commander. First Percival's now out for Kelly, rolling over that Tech 1 point defense like a tin can under an F-250. Because we're in Texas and we like our trucks in Texas, baby. Yeah. We're big men with big trucks, big engines. Trucks are actually super fun, especially the diesel ones, if you modify them. I remember my dad and I, whenever I was in high school, we blew up I think it was a 6.5 liter Power Stroke. The car had like 200,000 miles on it, and there was something wrong with the title, so we literally couldn't sell it for anything. But it still ran really well, and so my dad was like, I don't know, let's just see how much fuel and air we can shove into the engine and see how fast we can do a quarter mile before it blows up. And then whenever it blows up, we just took it to a junkyard. That thing flew. Like on its last run, like we got in, floored it, that thing flew for about 2 seconds and then blew up. Yeah, it was a lot of fun while it lasted. Alright, going back to the game instead of talking about big Texas trucks. I've lived in Texas for like 25 years and I can't even like really do like a proper Texas accent. Well, I can sort of do like a proper Texas accent. I don't know. I don't even know. That's not even good. But back to the game. Kelly now starting 5 minutes ago. I was saying Kelly was having trouble latching onto an area to, you know, sink his teeth into, but seems like he's got one. This southern plateau has been rolled over by the pillar spam. And he's also taken out a lot of this stuff in the middle. And the mass income delta continues to climb as we're now up a little bit above 30 mass income per second delta between Kelly and Geralt. But Geralt still hitting back. Got a plucky band of Percivals here moving down the middle. I'm still surprised. I don't think anybody is invested really into any sort of air up. Okay, actually, never mind. I take it back. Geralt going for Tech 3 air right now, skipping Tech 2 altogether, which kind of makes sense as UEF, unless you want to do massive Janus spam. Kelly, though, with only Tech 1 air and no plans for the time being to upgrade his air. Geralt now going a little bit on the offensive, going to try and take out these 3 mexes. Percivals with their high alpha strike able to deal with the defensive forces, for now at least, as bombers pelt them from the sky. And going after the land factory, interesting. Seems like the mexes are more important, but that's just me. As an air engagement roars overhead as well, and Geralt accomplishes his goal of taking out 3 mexes and a land factory. On the other side of the map, Kelly pushing forward with 4, now 3 Percivals up against Geralt's 3 Percivals. These guys are just going to say hi and walk past each other. You know, just like a Taylor Swift fan would just say hi to a Slipknot fan and walk right past. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. There seems to be very little commitment from both of these players to, you know, kill the enemy units. They're just kind of like just passing. Just passing. Do end up killing it eventually. As Geralt once again trying to get onto this plateau. Kelly going after the reclaim and setting up a radar system to get a good idea of what's going on there. Also see some of our first Tech 3 aircraft out, as ASF out now for Geralt of Rivia. Spy plane as well, giving a little look-see to what's going on in Kelly's base. Kelly still not responding to the Tech 3 air. Is going for a Tech 3 mex though. And that is going to be, I don't know how many. Some number. Let's count. Count them. 1. He's got 1 right now. Great. Hey, first one's the most painful. First one is the most painful, and then it gets easier from there. Or, you know, at least that's what the people that wax my legs tell me is. First time you get your legs waxed, it's the most painful. The second time, it gets a little easier. I don't wax my legs, I'm just kidding. Or am I? You never know. Lots of Percivals from Kelly. Coming down the middle. Geralt having to once again reposition. And this like overwhelming, this pressure from kind of like all sides is starting to work more in Kelly's favor, as once again it's just starting to become difficult for Geralt to get stabilized in any one particular area. He has cleaned out the northern section though. This section was initially cleared out but has since been rebuilt. We're already getting Tech 2 mexes up once again. And Kelly once again going to roll over the 4 mexes here, as Geralt scrambling to get reinforcements to an inferior number of Percivals to try and hold the line. We also see engineers starting to get some triads up as well. Still making Titans. I'm not 100% sure why we're still making Titans, but maybe good rating ability, higher fire rate, I guess. And I was just checking real quick. Only other thing going on really is a couple of Lobos causing problems over in the western side of the map. And Geralt able to mount a successful defense here. Cleans out the Lobos. He does have a squadron of Stingers now out on the field. Gonna go harass the Percivals with those next. So starting to abuse the fact that he does have air control because he has Tech 3 and he does have ASF up. Yeah, even has a transport getting in on the fun. That is, you know, KXAN 8, your news in Austin. Apparently, just wants to fly around and watch the Percivals die. Kelly has built so many freaking bombers. I think that's almost all he's built are Tech 1 bombers. And interceptors out of his factories. Which, I mean, okay, makes sense because those are the only two things he can build. Are we moving to Tech 3 yet? We have moved to Tech 2. I don't think Tech 3 is on the cards. At least yet, for Kelly. Spy plane once again going over for Geralt as they massacre the Tech 1 bombers. Once again out of Kelly. Stingers still hounding groups of Percivals from around the map. KXAN 8 there to capture all the footage for its lovely viewers back at the base. This transport's got to be so confused. It's like, why the hell am I even here? Because people need their stories told, okay? Okay, Bill, you're just going to get on this transport. Does it have weapons? No. Does it have shields? No. Any defenses at all? No. But people need to see the story of the gunships very, very slowly killing these Percivals. Almost sounds like something that would be on ESPN 8, the Ocho. Today we watch Stingers versus Percivals. Who is going to win? Right after lawnmower racing. Alright, lots of Percivals now storming up the middle. Geralt, as much as I have memed on the fact that he has a transport here just doing nothing and Stingers tickling these Percivals to death, has cleared out quite a few Percivals and given himself a good window to start aggressively pushing a little bit harder. Kelly, though, circling around the back, doing Kelly things, you know, trying to fight the enemy's army where they are not. Fat Boy now on the way for Geralt as well. And from an eco perspective, you know, things are a lot tighter now. Geralt now leading in eco by about 10 mass per second. So Geralt stabilized on eco, got himself a decent push going. He probably shouldn't have split these Percivals off, but I get what he's going after. He should have just sent this Stinger to, you know, continue raiding and causing problems for Kelly's backline. As it stands right now, I don't think these Percivals can really see the enemy Percivals because there's not really great radar. Geralt has Tech 3 air, but no Omni yet. He doesn't know what kind of monster he's fighting. How can he know what kind of, crap, what was the name of the potions? I don't remember the name of the there was like some fun name. It wasn't just potion. It was like serum. I want to say it was serum. He doesn't know what serum he needs. Come on, man. Get some radar up.
Yeah, 35 minutes into the game, Geralt now pulled ahead on overall mass and looking pretty threatening, but we saw the UEF defense the last time, and Kelly was unfortunately on the receiving end of the massive ability for the UEF to turtle into oblivion. So Kelly probably just maintaining his cool here. He's like, okay, look, you know, I just need to get like a fat boy up or something. Need to get some sort of defense and not lose all of my mexes, preferably. Most of them, okay, yeah, we can lose most of them, but not all of them. I wonder if Flood is still playing. That guy. If you've ever played 1v1 ladder at about my skill level, like maybe 700 to 1,000, somewhere in there is I think usually where I end up getting matched against Flood. He is the absolute pro at UEF turtling, just making his opponent just absolutely furious on trying to kill things. And it's almost like Flood is almost like I feel like almost like a skill check for like, okay, you've mastered the basics of the game, like can you keep your cool whenever an enemy is turtling? And he's beaten me several times from me doing something stupid. I mean, he's almost like Iceman. You know, he just wears you down until you make a mistake, do something stupid, and then he gets you. And there's that fat boy, now done. Bye, Geralt. The best offense is a good defense. And Kelly just seems very focused on expanding land production right now. He's like, you know what? I'm throwing away. I'm only killing 75% of a unit for every one that I'm losing, so obviously I need more units out there. And I can't say I blame him. But is going to lose, I think, his entire air force there. What kind of intel does he have on Geralt? Okay, so does not know that the fat boy is coming. At least I don't think. Unless he scouted it a little earlier. And scouting looks like relatively recent. Not super recent, but relatively recent. ASF. Okay, I completely missed these ASF out from Kelly. I think he's actually, well, he should win this engagement. Geralt, I think, also fought over Sam's there. As the Forged Alliance music decides it wants to do a really, really hard pivot from epic battle music to just silence. Or more tranquil music. Alright, now there's a lot of guns shooting. Let's see what the music does now. Are we still listening to tranquil piano? Still listening to piano and I guess that'd be viola, I think? Sounds a little too deep for a violin, but I don't think it's deep enough for a cello. So I think that's a viola, if I remember correctly. But now we're still chilling with kind of the haunting music for now. Now we've gone for a Halo-themed music. As the fat boy lets loose on the Percivals. Is it able to get over this mountain? It is able to get over this mountain. But fat boy needs to run now. And Geralt lost radar. Doesn't know that the Percivals are out there. Okay, radar comes back. He's not power stalling, so not quite sure what is going on with his radar. He does have Omni up, though, now. But these Percivals represent a very clear and serious threat to the obese child holding the front line. As Geralt is also raiding more perimeter mexes, and Kelly once again just going for the I want units everywhere strategy. As he's attacking down here, he's going to take out maybe a Tech 3 Mex before Geralt is able to kill these Percivals off. And yeah, is able to bag a Tech 3 Mex. That forces the Fat Boy to come back. Well, not like the Fat Boy was kind of already running. Another air engagement. This one seems to be going the way, though, of Geralt right now. What does total mass look like income-wise? Man, these two players, very, very close. 10k difference between the two of them in total mass collected. Even though Geralt is once again leading from an overall income perspective, albeit very, very slightly. Part of that is boosted by Reclaim. Still have Lobos coming out from. These are just irritating now. They're trying to hit this engineer. There we go. Now I hit it. Okay, and Geralt either has not noticed or has not chosen to respond to these two Percivals back here. Actually, nope. There's a strat that is going to mop that up. I was going to say if those two guys go undeterred, that's going to be 3 Tech 3 Mexes all down. As looks to be a little bit of an error in Geralt's template here. Now splitting the Percivals up to try and dodge that incoming strat fire. For sure, one of these Mexes ends up going down. As once again, we have another air engagement. Geralt still maintaining his tenuous control over the skies. As long as he doesn't fly over any AA. Lobo's out from Kelly, going to a very interesting rally point right around this cliff. Second strat now out from Geralt as second Tech 3 Mex goes down. That one Percival's killed 11,000 mass. Finally puts a stop to it. But that damages Geralt's eco pretty significantly, dropping him down to 167 income. But he does have strats out right now. Good amount of SAM coverage, though, in Kelly's base. So, although Kelly's commander is way out here on his own, does Geralt know that is where the comm is? He does not know that that is where the comm is. And instead, Geralt going to go after some of the land forces. And now this is looking, the super high production volume out of Kelly on Tech 3 is now starting to catch up to Geralt. We can do a quick land factory comparison here. I think that's the HQ. We've only got 3 Tech 3 land factories. Compare that with Kelly's 7 plus HQ. Literally double the amount of land factories, and that's starting to show from a unit count perspective, as the Fat Boy unfortunately cannot be in all areas at once. Gotten himself a good amount of kills, but these units going to make it around the side of the cliff and into the base. Engineers have not yet been deployed for point defense yet. This could get ugly as some of these power generators start popping off. Or no, I take that back. There is a little bit of point defense in the middle of the base as these Percivals all huddle up and go back to back. Fat Boy is actually able to make some of its shells over this cliff. That is helping. Tech 3 power generator goes down. Shield going down. Last of the Valiant Percivals going to go down with the exception of a few coming off of the line. And okay, that little raid, honestly, all in all, not as damaging to Geralt as I thought it would be. Kelly now pulling the KD ratio, though, to almost even. Starting to take a lot better trades. And has been pulling that KD. I think he was down at like 0.6, losing almost... losing 2 units almost for every one that he killed of Geralt's, but is starting to pull that back even. Fat Boy adventuring very far forward from any sort of support, though. Trying to lay down some suppressing fire on this, newly minted group of Percivals right off of the assembly line. And Kelly now moving his commander into his base. Thank God, I was really concerned for Kelly's commander there. Geralt scout the comm yet? No, he's going after. I was wondering if these were going after comm last known location. But looks like they're actually going after those units, but with no fighter support and the SAM coverage in Kelly's base. They go after a power generator. Can't even get a power generator, though. As well, I take that back. Last strat inbound. Should be able to finish up this P-Gen. Yep, and that's going to take out a P-Gen as well as one land factory, but not the kind of return on investment you're looking for out of a strat. Although I suppose at this point in the game, anything that you can do is worthwhile. Where did our Fat Boy go? Okay, so Fat Boy heading over to deal with the Lobos. As Geralt still dropping on eco, now only bringing in about half the amount of mass per second. And there's another Percival back here in the back line, gotten himself 37 kills, killing about 7.7 thousand mass. Does another sweep through these 3 mexes. And I think Geralt is... honestly, I think Geralt's starting to get tired. 47 minutes into a 1v1 game, you're starting to see fatigue set in a little bit for the underdog here and maybe the less experienced player. As he's just starting to... cracks are starting to show, having trouble dealing with kind of the pressure that is coming from all sides. He's been penned into really just this one area where he did have good control over pretty much the entire southern portion of the map 20 minutes ago. And I think the one saving grace here is he does have this Fat Boy, and there is no Fat Boy yet out of Kelly. But I mean, even still, like, the Fat Boy can only be in one place at a time. And with the Fat Boy, we've seen Kelly has just continuously swept through this area at least twice in the last 10-ish minutes that we've seen. Taking out mexes every time he goes down there. This is probably a pretty good lesson on like how to continue kind of doing the raid everywhere tactic into the later stages of the game, because maybe a lot of us, myself, pointing at myself here, I try and do these like raiding tactics early on, but I kind of give up about the Tech 2 phase and just wait for there to be like some massive army that I can fight or engagement or some way that I can win the game out of, cheating. Or not really cheating, but some cheesy way to win the game. As we got another strat bomb raid incoming after the production. Strats are able to get their payloads away. That is going to take out a lot of, well, a lot less than I thought it was, but 2 power generators down, 2 factories down, some SAMs down as well. Geralt now appearing to decide to lean more into his air power rather than his land power. but still has not been able to replace these mexes down here. Got massive amounts of civilian casualties as Kelly decides to go full Broken Arrow. Another war movie reference. If you haven't seen, is it We Were Soldiers or I think it's We Were Soldiers. Yeah, definitely want to go check that one out as well. Great movie. Not funny at all, really, but very good movie. We have the two armies now clashing from both players. Kelly appears like he's going to win this one just from sheer firepower. As Geralt, without his Fat Boy support, ends up losing about half of his Percivals there. Not great. Does start shifting the Fat Boy over. Fat Boy with 152 kills to his name. About 40,000 mass killed. Setting up Cougars as kind of air defense, but those are getting overwhelmed by the Tech 1 bombers. We'll see if Kelly wants to go for kind of more of a Tech 1 bomber snipe on this Fat Boy. He's going to need a lot more bombers than that, though, in order to do it. And the Fat Boy does open up on Geralt's forces, or yeah, Kelly's forces, forcing him to retreat. I don't think Geralt knows that he's massively outnumbered here, or he would not be putting his Fat Boy this close. Yeah, his radar's down, so he has no idea. And now this Fat Boy is going to pay the price. Yeah, there are way enough Percivals to be able to run this Fat Boy down and put it down. And I don't know what Geralt's play is at that point, as he's now dropped to less than half of mass income against Kelly, and Geralt gonna tap out there. So the Kelly redemption story, ladies and gentlemen. Now, who am I kidding? Gentlemen. You know, ladies that watch my show. I make way too many off-color jokes, and yeah. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, like and subscribe. You know the deal. And I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.